Hello and welcome. My name is Kelly Wayment and I'm here at Silhouette headquarters. I am here to talk about the Silhouette machines and hopefully get you excited and get you actually using your machines. So I'm interested in, if you put in the chat, maybe why, if you've already bought the machine, what you intend to use it for. Also, if you don't have a machine yet, a Silhouette machine, maybe what you intend to use it for, why it interests you. And that'll kind of give me an idea on how to, maybe what we might make at the end, vinyl or paper or something else. So let me go ahead and just a little background on myself. I have been using Silhouette machines since they first came out. And I've pretty much used every machine, own most of them, and I just love them. And I love the software and I love the machine itself. So hopefully I can share a little bit about that with you. And so you can be excited about it also. Let me first start out and talk about your machine choices from Silhouette. So this is the Cameo 4. And this is like our main model of machine. The Cameo 4 has a little light up LED name, and it has this lid that slides back. If you have an older machine, that's great. The same software runs all of the Silhouette machines. And some of the features that I like about the Cameo 4 is that it cuts all the way with a 12-inch cutting width. It will also cut narrower materials. So if you're using 9-inch vinyl, you can adjust your rollers so it will cut 9-inch vinyl. It also will cut anything that will fit on the 12 by 12-inch cutting mat. So if you're cutting small scraps of paper, you can do that. If you are cutting small pieces of vinyl, you can do that on your cutting mat. If you want to cut vinyl directly from a roll without using the cutting mat, you can do that as well. The Cameo 4 has a pull-out drawer. And this is where you can put 12-inch wide or 9-inch wide vinyl to feed directly into your machine. So if you were to use 9-inch vinyl, you would slide your little adjustment here. It snaps into place and it holds that roll, and you would just feed it through the front slot and adjust your rollers. So you always, to adjust your rollers, you bring this lever down. There's a pinch roller here that you can slide in. It's got specific stopping points that line up on the Cameo 4. The roller will line up with these arrows, and just make sure that you're actually choosing one of those arrow points, those stopping points, when you're using your machine. When you're adjusting the rollers, don't put it somewhere in between those arrows. It's not meant to do that. And when you have your vinyl or your roller the way it's supposed to be, then you just lift your lever up again and lock it into place. And then for 9-inch vinyl, you can just push the load arrow over here and it loads it just fine. If you are doing 12-inch vinyl, it's exactly the same thing, but you just adjust your little clamp side to that wider setting and go through the same process again to release the lock of the roller bar and adjust your roller. So you've got several arrows. You can do letter size paper, you can do 9-inch vinyl, you can do A4, you can do 12-inch vinyl, and then to use the cutting mat, you bring it all the way out to the furthest arrow and always lock your roller bar back in place with that knob. The Cameo 4 has, with the advantage of cutting vinyl and having the built-in roller feeder, you've also, on the back, got a cross cutter. And I'll probably show you this if we cut vinyl, but you can feed your vinyl through after your cut job, and you just clamp it into place and slide your cross cutter across, and that will cut your vinyl. And always lift up your, lock these tabs back into place when you're done cutting vinyl, so it doesn't interfere with your next cut. Cameo 4 also has 2 carriages. So the one you'll use most often probably is your left carriage, tool carriage 1, and that uses the auto blade. That's where you would put a sketch pen with the adapter, and that's just for most materials: vinyl, paper, stickers, heat transfer. And then your second carriage is for specialty materials and specialty tools. So if you're cutting like fabric or felt or crepe paper, something like that, you would use specialty tools in carriage 2. So Michael sells this, and I believe they sell it in all 3 colors of white, black, and pink. Those are all fun choices. And that is, Michael sells it for $299.99. So that's the Cameo 4, most of the general features. Let me show you the Portrait 3. This one I love because it's really portable. This one is perfect if you are doing a lot of letter size paper crafts. So if you're using sticker paper, and this one's not adjustable, the rollers are not adjustable. It's got 1 tool carriage. And so it's just a really good machine if you are maybe a card maker or scrapbooker, sticker maker, or if you just need a machine that is portable, that you can do a lot of the same stuff you can do with the Cameo 4. This is just in a smaller, compact form and also a smaller price tag. So this one is at Michael's for $199.99. Both of these use the auto blade. Now, if you are interested in bigger crafts, so like the portrait I will use because it's portable or it's just really nice for a letter size paper. The Cameo 4 is great because it's just so versatile and does all the smaller sizes, and also your 12 by 12 papers and your rolls of vinyl. Also, those rolls of vinyl, you can cut 12 inches wide or 9 inches wide, and you can cut really long. So there's not you would only cut what's practical, but you can cut many, many feet at a time. Let me see if I've got enough room here. I'm going to bring up the Cameo Pro. Okay, so this is the Cameo Pro. There's also a Cameo Plus that is 15 inches wide. This is the Cameo Pro that cuts up to 24 inches wide. So this basically is, it does all the same things as your standard size Cameo 4, but it will cut wider. So you can use 24-inch wide vinyl or up to 24-inch wide heat transfer. I think a lot of heat transfer comes in like 15 inches wide. And so this Cameo Pro will cut it. And as far as like paper crafts, I cut poster board and make really large paper craft projects with the Cameo Pro. It also, because it cuts fabric and it comes with a 24 by 24 inch mat, you can cut some larger pieces of fabric than you could with the smaller machines. So, and feature wise, it's got the same 2 carriages and is adjustable. If you're cutting vinyl, it's got an extension. I won't worry about the setup because you can watch our other Cameo Pro classes, but it's a really, really cool machine. I like it. You just have to make sure you have room for it. Okay, if you are curious about more of those, more of the features, let me share my screen. And if you just go to michaels.com, and I found the easiest way to get there is just go to their search bar and type in silhouette. And this will bring up the silhouette page. And as you scroll down, you can see that there's your, here's the machines that Michaels sells. And you can see the colors and sizes and price tags. So there you go. And then if you go back to the silhouette page, if you scroll all the way down, let's see. Yeah, if you scroll down, there's a comparison chart. So it'll tell you the cutting depth and the width and the size of the machine. So that'll help you out too. And you can find all that on silhouetteamerica.com as well. All right, do we have any questions on? Yes.
Can you use the iPad 4 to cut without working on a laptop?
So the question is, can you use an iPad for cutting on, for using these machines? We do have a very simple mobile app. It's called Silhouette Go, and it's not necessarily for designing, but it will take the designs that you own in the library and it will open them and cut them, and you can choose your different materials. You can still, you know, resize and rotate things. So it's in quite a simple format, but you can use it. Hopefully that answers that question. And you can look up Silhouette Go on the silhouetteamerica.com website, and it should show you. We've also on silhouette101.com, we have a class on the Silhouette Go. So that'll give you an idea how you could use an iPad or an iPhone, Android phones also, to cut with these machines using that. And it has to be one of the machines that is Bluetooth enabled. So older machines, you might have, it would have to have Bluetooth to do that with the app. All right, so if you need to, if you have not set up an account with Silhouette America, what you would do is go to silhouetteamerica.com and you can, let's see, let me move my, so you can set up an account, let's see, on support and machine setup. So you're going to click on this tab for support and machine setup, and that will tell you how to get your machine set up and how to set up an account. You'll use the same email address and account information for both registering your machine and purchasing in the shop, and also for your software. So if you haven't downloaded the software yet, Silhouette Studio, again, it's on silhouetteamerica.com, and just click on this software tab and get software. And it'll pop up right here for the download. Most of you using Windows are going to use the Windows 64-bit, and then there's your Mac option also. All right, so let's go ahead and look at Silhouette Studio. And I'll just give you a quick overview. So you've got, if you're watching the recording, you might not be able to see, if you go back and watch the recording later, you might not be able to see this upper right-hand corner, but there are four main tabs. There's a design tab, which is where you do all of your design work, opening shapes, manipulating things. You've got your store, which is for purchasing designs from the Silhouette Design Store. You've got your library, which is where you'll actually retrieve those designs to be able to open them up. And then you've got your send tab, which is where you'll actually give the information on all of your cut settings, what material you'll be using, and actually send the job to cut. So let's go to the store tab really quick. And if you click on that, it'll open the Silhouette Design Store in a web browser. And the things you want to watch out for here are your free designs. You'll also get little a display on the sales that are going on at the time, and your free design of the week. But if you just click free, this tab up here, that will give you your free design of the week. And those come out every Tuesday. So you should make sure you check every Tuesday. It's really simple. You just click once, or you can just add it to your cart. But if you click once, it'll give you a little more details. You can see this is a regular cut design, and you can just add it to your cart. And you can either go to your cart in the upper right-hand corner or just click the little arrow to finish checking out. And you can tell that it's free. And so I'm just going to check out, and it'll ask you for your password. You do need to have your Silhouette account set up already. Type in your password, and it'll tell you, thanks for your order, and you've got it. So now when you want to find that design, you go back to Silhouette Studio, and it's going to go into your library. So I'm going to click the library tab up here in the upper right corner. And those files, when you purchase them, will go into a folder called Recent Downloads. And I've got a lot of folders. You might not have a bunch of folders on the side, but you are able to drag your designs into subfolders and create special categories that you can find things easier. So I'm just going to click Recent Downloads. And here's this little pumpkin welcome sign. So if I double click it, I'm going to actually go ahead and enlarge these also. Down at the very bottom, you can make your thumbnails bigger with a little slider. Okay, so here's my little welcome sign or welcome doormat. Double click to open it. There we go. It's opened up. So any of your designs in your library, it's just a double click to open. All right, you've also got some regular tools up at the top. You've got open a new document, open a saved document, save, print, cut, copy, paste. Here's one button you should know really well. That's the undo button. And Silhouette Studio has these really nifty little tooltips that if you hover over something, it'll pop up a little tooltip of what that icon does. You've got copy. Here's your zoom tools. So you'll see me using these quite a bit, zooming in and out on the page. On the left, you've got some main tools. You've got your drawing tools. You've got text. And we're not going to go into all of those today because it's a basic class. Okay, question?
Are images suitable for card cutting and other?
So the question is, are all images suitable for card cutting and other cuts? No. So when you've got something really detailed, you're probably going to want to stick with something like vinyl as your material or heat transfer. Some of your projects are a little too skinny and thin. So if I wanted to make this one bigger, I could cut it out of paper. But these skinny little letters, especially if I wanted to shrink it down, that would not be a great choice for paper. You could do it if you know your settings really well and your blade is really sharp. But you could go down, see, if I were to shrink this design to this small, I could still cut this out of vinyl or heat transfer, but I wouldn't trust that paper would be the perfect choice for that. You've also got print and cut designs that are actually printable. So you wouldn't use those for vinyl, but you could print them and use them on cards or scrapbook pages or something like that. So, and fonts also, you've got some really skinny fonts and some really big, bold, blocky fonts. So if you're a scrapbooker, you would want to choose, you know, for page headings, you would use a larger font, a thicker font. But if it's skinny, you could get away with that with vinyl or heat transfer a lot better. All right, up here also on the top is your quick access toolbar. Some people don't use it. They like to use the menu buttons up here, the menu choices, but your quick access toolbar will actually change depending on what you have selected, and you've got all of your most common functions. So say I don't want this to be orange on my page. Here's my fill color where I can just change either the shade of orange, or I can change the color completely. So fill color and line color are up there, your line thickness. If you are working with text, you'll see some text options, but you've got scale. So it's nice to just spend some time getting to know the software. And like I said, you've got these little tool tips that will hover as you hover over the icon. It'll tell you what it's going to do. And you can play with that. Silhouette Studio is a really fun software to just play with and see what it will do. All right. So do we have people that have said what they want to use it for, like vinyl or? Okay, so let's go, and I think I'm going to do vinyl because I can show you how to use also vinyl on paper. On your design page, if you move something off to the side of your virtual mat, anything outside of your cut border on your virtual mat, this area on the side is just a holding area. So if you stick something over here, it's not going to cut. You have to bring it back onto the design page to be able to cut it. So I think we could do this pumpkin on a mug, or I've got some other choices. Maybe I'll let you guys choose. I have put in my wish list a couple of designs, and I believe these are on sale right now. So I could do a little succulent, or I could do a leaf, or I could do the pumpkin. Do we have any votes on what people would like to try out to cut? Vinyl, we'll probably try it with vinyl first. And if we have time, we'll do some paper. Split pretty evenly. Okay, let's do these leaves. So this is in my wish list. If I click on it, I can add it. Let's see. I could add all these wish list items to my cart, or while I'm in my wish list, I can just click the little cart button, and now it has moved it to my cart. That design, let's see, I'll give you the design ID number in a minute. It's on sale right now for only 50 cents. So if you want to grab it, let me get you the design ID number. I'm going to check out. Okay, so now if I go to my library, that should load into the recent downloads. And we'll see if I can find it. There it is, right there, leaves. So if you go to this little kind of a square, this is going to give you a larger preview of your design, and it'll also give you some other information. So this design ID number, if you want it yourself, because it's on sale, is number 330189. So if you were just going to type leaves into your search bar, you would bring up probably 1,000 different designs. So this one, it's nice to know the design ID number, 330189. So now I will double click on that. And now I've got it open. I'm not going to use this pumpkin design, so I'm going to select it and just hit delete on my keyboard. And so I know that I'm not going to use it. It just gets out of the way. So these leaves are already ungrouped, and I think it might be fun to put all 3 of them on my mug. So what I need to do is see how large of a space I've got to work with. Let's see, and I didn't bring my ruler, so I'm just going to use my mat to kind of see how much space I've got. So I've probably got 4 inches of good space, and we'll maybe keep it 4 inches wide and 3 inches, 3 inches high. So we can do that a couple of different ways. Go back into Silhouette Studio. So there is a grid function you can turn on. If I just type G on my keyboard, that's going to turn on my grid. Now, the other thing I can do is on the page setup panel, which is the top right-hand panel and it opens automatically when you open a new document. The second tab is my grid, and I can turn off this show grid or don't show grid. Let's see, I want to make these lines a little darker. So it's got some adjustment for making my lines a little darker or not. The other thing we can do is just set up a page size. So if I know I want it to be 4 inches wide on the page setup panel, I can set in a custom media size. So I put the width of 4 inches and my height at 3 inches and just hit enter. And now I can see how big an area I've got for cutting. So here's my zoom tool. This is one I like a lot. It's this double pointed arrow. If I click on that, and then I just click and drag my mouse up or down, that'll zoom in and out really fast on my design page. And then when I let go, it stops zooming. So I'm going to just click and drag a selection box around these leaves. And I'm just going to kind of arrange them to make sure they fit in this space. I can actually rotate things too. So if I click once, it gets what's called a bounding box. And that's where I can, if I drag a corner handle, I can resize it larger or smaller. The other thing I can do is click and drag this little green arrow at the top, and it will rotate my design. So then I have all these customization options to get that design the way I want. All right, so that looks good. And I know that is going to fit on my 4 inches by 3 inches area of the mug. I'm going to cut directly from the roll. So I am going to change, now that I know this is the size I need it, I'm going to drag a selection box across those and group them. So up here on the quick access toolbar, you've got a little button for group selected shapes. You could also do Control G or Command G if you're using a Mac. And then before I send anything to cut, I want to make sure that I've got all of my settings right here on the page setup panel. So my machine is the Cameo. That's correct. If I needed to change it, I could switch the drop down. Just click the little drop down arrow and it would change. Let me see the options to change it. My cutting mat, I'm not going to use the cutting mat this time. So I'm going to set it to none, because I'm going to cut directly from the roll. And now my media size, I need to say what size. And I'm going to use 12-inch vinyl. I'm going to cut this out of a gold vinyl. So 12 inches wide, and then I can say whatever length I want. So if I said it was like 20 inches, that gives me all of the space that I would ever use for that mat, for that vinyl. Now, the other thing we need to pay attention to is the cut area. the cut border. So make sure you always have this little button checked, the little box checked for show cut border. If you turn that off, then you don't see what the machine, the areas, limitations that will actually cut. So I always leave that checked. And now you can see this cut border. I don't want my design to overlap that cut border.
Questions about
Sure.
how the color in the software relates to the color of vinyl.
Yeah, that's a good question. The question is, how does this color in the software relate to the color of vinyl? So if you are cutting, well, let's just say it this way. If you're printing something, the color matters. If you're just cutting something from colored paper or colored vinyl, this color does not matter as long as you're using the simple basic things. I won't get into cut by fill color, but you could use color as a cutting option later. But for our intents and purposes, the color on the mat, as long as I'm cutting from a piece of colored paper or colored vinyl, the color on the page does not matter. So it only matters really if you're printing. A lot of times I will change the color just to represent what I'm cutting. So if I wanted to change it to like a gold color, because I'm doing other things for design purposes, I can do that, but it's not going to change anything that I'm actually cutting by changing the color here. Okay, so let's go to the Send tab and I'll plug in my machine. All right, so I just plugged in Cameo 4 and it's going to say, do I want to make this the active machine? And I will say yes, because then the software does most of the work for me. If I need to find the machine, if you need to find your machine, you can go down to this little machine icon at the bottom down here on the Send panel, and you can choose from your available machines. This is the one, it's showing green, so I know it's available. And so that's the machine I would choose. And it tells me it's ready to load. But before I cut anything, send anything, load anything, I want to make sure that I've got my material settings cut or set up. So my material is going to be vinyl. And it's actually got a little search bar. You can scroll down and see your various choices. It's got a search bar. So if I just start typing in vinyl, it's being slow. All right, it's not going to work for me, but it usually does. So I'm just going to scroll down until I find vinyl glossy, because I'm using a permanent vinyl. And so I will just click vinyl glossy. And since I'm using the auto blade, this has automatically detected the auto blade in the Cameo 4. I have it inserted and it's automatically choosing a cut action for me, which I also want. Now we can do a test cut and I'll show you how to do that. I already know that I like my vinyl settings higher than the default. So I'm going to set my blade to 2 and I'll leave my force at 10 and my speed at 5. You can usually cut vinyl faster, so I'll just put my speed up to 10 also. All right, so let's look at the machine itself. Okay, so I've got everything set up in the software. So now I got to make sure that my machine is ready. So here's my 12-inch vinyl. And my blade, you want to make sure when you are using your blade, and this is the Cameo 4 auto blade, it's got a flat side. You want to make sure that that is the side that goes in up against the machine. And just to make sure that your blade cuts correctly, you need to make sure you push it all the way down. So I kind of give upward pressure with my finger on the little lock tab, and then I push down to make sure that I've got it fully seated. And once I'm sure that that is all the way down, then I just push in to lock it. And so then that's not going to go anywhere. And I can use my built-in roll feeder. And I want to make sure that I'm set to cut 12-inch wide vinyl. So right now it's set up to cut on the mat because it's the farthest arrow out. I want it to cut 12-inch vinyl. So bring down the lock lever. And the Cameo 4, it's got this really slick little gray button you just push with your finger and slide it so you can feel it settle into the notch on the roller bar, and then lift this tab back up to lock it. And then I've got this vinyl, and it's a little bit curled, so I'm just going to curl it the opposite direction a little bit. You also want to make sure that it is cut straight across and not at an angle, so it feeds in correctly. Right, whether you're loading a mat or you're loading vinyl, you're always going to align the left edge with this little guide mark. On every Cameo machine has this little guide mark. And then press load. And I usually double check and make sure that it did load in straight. You can kind of compare all the way across to make sure that it has fed in the same amount on both sides. And one more thing I'm going to do before I send this. Share my screen again. I'm going to do a weed line. So I'm going to go back to my design page. This is going to help me get these off of my mat once I've cut them. This is a good thing to do for vinyl and for heat transfer. So over here on the left, I've got some drawing tools. I'm just going to grab this draw a rectangle tool. And now when I click and drag across my page, it's going to draw a rectangle. And I can get it pretty close to those designs without, I just don't want them to be touching or cutting off my design at all. Okay, so there's my weed line. I'm also going to do a test cut. So in the Send tab, we set up those settings, and I want to make sure that the blade settings as they are going to work well on this vinyl. So I'm just going to click this button that says test, and it's going to take the blade and draw a little square with a triangle inside of it. Okay, so that made a little test cut. So I need to download it, and I need to see if those settings work well. So I will usually pull my square away from the triangle to see if it leaves the triangle nicely behind, and it does. And I can feel the back side, and I can tell that it did not cut all the way through. If it cuts all the way through your vinyl backing, you've got your depth too high, you've got your blade too high, or your force too high. But that turned out to be a really good setting, so I'm going to load that again. And whenever you're ready to send a job, you just click the little blue send button at the bottom. It says my media width is too wide. So all I need to do, that's kind of a bug. All I need to do is on my width on my page setup panel, I'm just going to put 11.9 inches wide. And that should get rid of that error for me. So we'll try and send this again. All right, so that's going to cut out my leaves, and it's going to cut out my rectangle that I drew around it. I can't hear you, so I'm going to have to wait until this machine stops getting. Okay, what was the question?
So after you do a test cut and remove it from the machine, will that interfere with your design you're cutting?
That is a good question. So the question is, after you do a test cut, is it going to interfere with the design? So the test cut always puts it in the upper left corner. And so I just, from experience and knowing this design, I knew that my test cut was going to be made up here in the upper left corner, and it was not going to interfere at all with my design. If I had part of my design up here where I know the test cut is made in the upper left corner, then I would just slide it over. So it would interfere if you had an item also placed here. And so you just need to be aware of that and move your design over if you need to after you've done a test cut. All right, so that has cut through, and I can just check really quick and make sure one more time that cut well, and it did. So I'm actually going to use the cross cutter. So I'm going to scroll this through the machine and use the cross cutter on the back. So what you're doing is you're using these little buttons on the touch panel, and you're not using this to say what direction the paper is going to go. You're saying what direction the blade is going to go. So if I want my vinyl to move, then I'm moving my blade down. So that's why I'm pushing my down button. Okay, so once I'm sure that that design has cleared, I'm going to pull down these two tabs, lock them into place, and just going to slide my little rotary slicer all the way across. And then always, always remember to bring these tabs back up and lock them into place. And then I've got my vinyl that's cut perfectly straight across, and I can just unload what's there. Okay, so now let's put this on the mug. I'm just going to use my scissors and that down so I can save this piece for another project. And I've got my hook tool that I can get rid of this weed line that was on the outside. I can get rid of the little triangle from the test cut. And now I can just use my hook tool and very carefully just peel away. This is called weeding. So it's like weeding in a garden. You're taking away the things that you don't want. So sometimes if you just give it a little jiggle from side to side as you're pulling it off, that will help leave those pieces in place. And so now I've got this cute leaf design. Now, this is big enough that I could just pick up and hand place each of those little, they're basically stickers at this point. I could place those on my mug, but if I want them to stay exactly where they are, then I can use transfer tape. So transfer tape, you can usually get it in a roll. This one is Oracal transfer tape, also called Aura tape, MT80P. Michaels does sell this, and you can reuse the transfer tape if you keep it clean. So this is actually a piece I've used before. And so I'm just going to put my mug down. And let's see. I'm going to use the top edge of this, or I could use sideways like this. I'm going to use the top edge to pick up my design. I don't want to put my transfer tape on anything that's got a ridge, and I would want to avoid any kind of tapered. If you're not experienced with vinyl, you don't want to use a tapered side and try and fit it all the way down. You're going to want to start out with straight edged, kind of a cylindrical object is fine, or completely flat. All right, so I'm just going to use my transfer tape and place it down on my design. Use a little scraper tool to make sure that gets on there well. And then I usually like to flip my vinyl over and peel the paper up and try and leave that vinyl on there. So this transfer tape might not be quite sticky enough, but just because I've used it before. But if I take my scraper tool and just press it against the paper while I drag the paper up, hopefully you can see that. That's a really good way to make sure that your design, your vinyl design, stays on the transfer tape and comes off the backing. So now I'll get my mug. And I will just place it on there. I usually like to press it down in the middle first and then smooth outward. That'll help avoid bubbles. And you might want to trim your transfer tape down closer to the size of the design. I've done this so many times that I can work with bigger transfer tape without much trouble. But if you are having trouble with bubbles or getting that to smooth down, you might want to work with smaller transfer tape. Okay, so now I've got this cute little mug with these designs. And if you're using permanent vinyl, so it's glossy or permanent or Oracal 651, I have found that that can be put on mugs and you can go ahead and hand wash those. If it's not important, you can try it in the dishwasher. I've got some that go just fine in the dishwasher, but if you're worried about it, then just hand wash it and probably let it sit for 24 hours before you try and wash it or get it wet at all, just to make sure that that adhesive sticks on there. Okay, so do we have questions? We might have a little time if anybody wants to see how I would cut paper. Okay, so let's cut some paper. I'm just going to do these same leaves. And so this is just a piece of letter size cardstock. This is my favorite paper to cut. It's Michael's Recollections 65-pound cardstock. And I buy these in their multicolored packs. So this is one of their sets. I can't even remember what it's called. It also has a green in it, but I buy these multicolored packs from Michael's and I just love them. So when you're cutting paper, you'll usually want to use a cutting mat. So your cutting mat is just, it's got a protective shield on it. So you want to keep that shield so you can put it back on the mat after you're done cutting to keep it free from debris and things. So when you're putting your paper on your mat, you're going to, if it's 12 by 12, you would obviously fill up the whole page, but if you are cutting smaller scraps and you're setting up your page size in the software, you're going to put it in the upper left corner of your mat. And so that's what it looks like physically. And I'll show you what we do in the software. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my design page. And we want to make sure that we change these things. This is still the machine, but this time for cutting mat, I do want to use a cutting mat, and I want to use the Cameo 12 by 12 inch cutting mat. And you can see suddenly that now it looks more like our physical mat that we've got. Media size, since I'm using letter size paper, there's a really nice letter size preset right here. So I can just say letter, and now you can see, I'm also going to turn off my grid. So just hit letter G on my keyboard. So now this looks like the physical mat. We can even, if we wanted to, change it to brown paper if we wanted, to make it look like the paper we're going to be using. That's an option to change your media color. We're just going to leave it on white because that's normal. I don't need this rectangle anymore. So I'm just going to delete the select it and delete it. I'm going to leave this spot open for a test cut. We could make these a little bit bigger. So that's all we need to do to set up our page. We're going to cut those same leaves. If you want, somebody said they wanted to do text, there's a text tool over here. So just click your text tool here on the left and type it down. Click it down and you get a flashing cursor, and you can just say something like, just type whatever you want. And then you have an option over here on the right hand side, also this letter A, you can change your font. It's called the text style panel. Let's wait for a second for that to open up. Any questions at the moment?
How do we know which settings to use?
Yep, we're going to go over that in just a second. So for our paper settings, if you didn't hear the question. Okay, so I know I want this font to be, it's one that's in the design store. It's called Stars and Stripes. So I start typing it out and and it highlights it down here. So I'm just going to click it and choose Stars and Stripes as my font. And you can see that that changed. And so now let's go over to our send panel. And that looks like it's going to cut the way I want. So this time our material is going to be cardstock plain. You could also use cardstock textured heavy. That gets us a little closer to the settings I like to use. If your blade is sharp and your mat is really sticky, you can probably get away with a blade depth of 3 and your force of 30 and your speed is 4 or 5. I'm going to go ahead and bump it up to 4. I know that that also cuts really well. So blade depth 4, force 30. All of these are your drop down default settings are a good starting point. And then you can do your test cuts and just try cutting the paper to see if that works. And if it doesn't, then you can try again. You can adjust things a little bit and try again. Okay, so let's get this loaded. I'm not going to do a test cut in the interest of time because I know that's going to cut for me, but I do need to adjust my rollers. So drop down the tab, move it all the way out, the pinch roller out to the 12-inch mat position, and then load my mat on the left or on the guideline. Move it in just a little bit. Okay, and I'm not going to show you my software, but I'm just going to click that little blue send button at the bottom again. All right, so that's cutting my leaves, and then it will cut my title. Okay, so peel it up just a little bit and see if that cut well, and it did. So unload it. Then when I'm using paper on a mat, I will usually curl my mat away from my paper. This has some extra detail to it, so I want to make sure I go slow enough that I'm not tearing my paper. All right, peel that off. If I peel my mat away from my paper, that helps avoid the paper curling. And you can see that that just cut really nicely from that 65-pound Recollections paper. And then, so if you wanted to make a scrapbook page or a happy fall card for somebody, you've got those cute little cutouts. All right, were there any other questions?
Question. If I print a design, laminate it with heavy laminate, can I send it to a silhouette to cut it?
So you're probably not going to have a lot of luck with your silhouette cutting something that's already laminated. It's probably too dense. So when I've laminated stuff, I've usually cut it out first and then had it laminated and then just cut with scissors, kind of the traditional way. Things that are super thick and dense are not going to cut really well with your silhouette machine. Thanks for joining me. You can find this class again on michaels.com/classes. You can find past classes. If you're looking for silhouette classes, you can look on their technology section of the classes. That's where both silhouette and Cricut classes will show up, and then it'll just have a header that says silhouette. You can also find classes and lessons and tutorials on silhouette101.com. And hopefully that'll get you headed in the right direction. I hope that you are feeling more comfortable with either your desire to purchase a silhouette machine or to actually get cutting. But the main thing is just to actually start using your machine. Get over the scary part of not trying it out at all. Once you start cutting, it gets to be a lot of fun. So thank you so much for joining me, and we hope to see you in another class soon.